Hello, online money makers. This is Michelle Brubaker, and I'm here today with Crystal Groves, and she's going to share some really great information with you today. This is good because you know what? A lot of us think we need a website, or want a website, or where everyone tells us we need to get a website. But you know what? It usually stops right there. We don't get to know all the things that we must know that go along with that website. Oh, isn't that fantastic? That's what happens when live video comes open. And that is on.
That happens to me all the time.
There we go. I'll just close the screen. Yeah, my apologies there. But what do we need to go with that website? There's a lot of information that comes with it. And you know what? She's going to break it down. She's going to dissect this for you so that you're going to know what you need, also what you don't need. Because you know what? You're always being upsold to all of the time. And there's so many things that we do not need. And so Crystal's here and she's going to share those things with you. So I would love it, Crystal. Give us a quick introduction. Tell our audience just a little bit about you, where you're from, and what you do.
So thank you. Crystal Groves. I own a digital agency called Misfit Interactive based out of Gettysburg. Obviously, we work globally with clients. I have clients in China, France, all over the country here in the U.S., and I've been doing this. We are 6 years into this as a company, but I've been doing it since I was 14, which is like way back in the 90s. So what we do is we provide a lot of agency solutions for small business and medium-sized business prices, because I've worked for very large agencies that are doing $1 million websites, but there's small businesses out there that can't afford that kind of stuff. So my goal was to figure out a way to provide that same quality of service, but for prices that more smaller agencies and businesses could afford. So we're in Gettysburg, but we serve everywhere. Right now, I'm actually in a whole different state, but we love, networking with people all over. So I'm always willing to travel and meet new people like I am here with Michelle.
That's great. I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Crystal. It's funny. I used to actually be in the web design business many years ago. And it's funny, you said the 90s. I remember when I was studying at the college for a degree in e-business administration, and we were learning all about this search engine, Yahoo, and this thing that was all the craze called MySpace back at around 2000. Do you remember that?
I remember. I think I still have my MySpace up somewhere.
That was all the rage back then. It's like we have come so far with all of this. It's amazing. Well, This is going to be good. I want you to put your questions in. I'm welcome to everyone. I see that you're watching here. Thank you so much for those likes and thumbs up, and give us the heart. We love it. If you're watching on YouTube, yep, I welcome you as well. And those who are watching on Facebook, put your questions in the comment box. We will see those and answer those live. So definitely put those in here. So that would be fantastic. Oh, great. We already have on YouTube. We already have our happy. Thank you so much for putting that in there. Appreciate it very, very much. All right, Crystal. So you're here to talk about this website. You're going to talk about 10 things every small business owner should know about their website. You know what? We don't know what we don't know, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know. And you're going to just reveal that to us so that we can be informed and have this awareness of what we need to know for our website. We talked in previous interviews, we talked in previous interviews about how to set up a website. We're not talking about that today. No. So if you already have one or you're getting ready to, these are the things to consider. Take it away, Crystal. I'm going to give you the floor. Start talking to us about what are those things we need to know?
Sure, absolutely. One of the biggest issues that I have with my clients is a lot of them aren't tech savvy, and you're not necessarily meant to be tech savvy. You're meant to run your business, and it could be any industry. So knowing everything there's to know about website and technology just doesn't make sense for everybody. So one of the big things that I try to emphasize at the beginning is understanding what the purpose is for your website. Like, why do you have a website? Do you have one just because you're supposed to have one? Do you have an actual purpose for your website? So one of the things I ask them, like, do you want it to be your online business card, which normally they are. Do you want it so that local people can help you find services in their area for what you do? Do you want to talk about what your brand is about? Do you want to use it to engage with your clients? Do you have certain elements of your website that let people engage with you as a business? Is it a tool for your clients to contact you, or is it a tool for you to educate them about a service or a concept? And then, of course, do you use it to advertise online in Google? And honestly, if the answer is any one of those things, that's great, but it really should be all of those things.
Oh, that's
Yes.
great.
And so basically what I try to explain is that a website should never just be a website. It should be a multi-tool for your business, and you can use it for so many different things. Like you use it for helping with your coaching, marketing and things like that. I use it to educate clients through my blog or to talk about the services that we provide. We use it to engage with our clients. We use it for all these different things. So one of the issues that I've experienced in the past with clients is they have a website. They think that's all they need to do is have it up, and then they set it and forget it.
If you build it, they'll come, right?
Right. But you can't do that. It's like having a business card and then not actually giving it to anybody. So what's the point of having the business card if you're not going to get it out there to the people? So your website is a tool, but you have to actually use the tool, I guess is where I'm going with that. So basically, you have to understand what the purpose is for your website. And once you have an idea of what you're using it for, then we go into the details of building it to the proper settings and with the proper content for your business. So that's number one. That is probably the most important part, is to actually understand what the use is for your website.
That's even just making me think too. You know, I've never asked myself that question. That's a great question. What is the purpose really? And know
and it
that
is multifaceted too.
Yeah.
So number two is understanding how to access your web hosting server. So this is probably the number one issue I've seen with this one and then probably the next one is the number one issue that I have with clients, is that once I'm hired to take over their website or to build them a new website, they have no idea how to access their old website. I've had clients that have had their website stolen from them from either a relative or another web company that was maybe a little unethical. So it's always important to understand how to access your web host, and understanding what a web host is. Essentially, it is a server, like a web server, like a computer that is storing all of the files that make up your website. And that server is what everybody is looking at. So it's important for you to be able to have access to that. You don't have to have technical knowledge to have access. It's essentially just what's called a control panel login. But once you log in, you have the ability to do things like create email addresses. You have the ability to look at your traffic, your server load. I mean, there's certain data there that could be useful for business owners. But for the most part, it's where your website files are. It's where your pictures are, PDFs that you have for people to download. It's important for businesses to know how to access this information. And a lot of people don't know how to do that.
That is a big one. I always tell people that your website is a business asset. And so you need to be able to have control of that. So we should always know how to access it. Good.
Yep. And then number two is always know how to access your domain name, which is actually different than your website. You buy a domain name from like GoDaddy or Namecheap or something like that, and then you point that domain name at your web server. So these are two things that are married together. And when people go to the domain name, it's taking them to the web server that hosts your files. And that's how that works essentially. But a lot of people, they don't know how to access their domain name. I actually had a client last week. Their domain name expired. I think they probably had it registered for 5 years, completely forgot that they had a domain name, where it was. They didn't even know where it was registered, didn't know how to access it. So I got it back for them, and I actually paid for it out of pocket to get it re-registered just to get them up. They'll send me a check later for it, and that's fine. But if you lose your domain name, you lose everything.
That's
like,
right.
You still have your website files, but nobody can see them because you don't have the domain name pointing to your website. So that to me is one of the more important ones, is to know how to access the domain name and know how to access your website files, because if you don't know how to do that, then who does? You know?
Exactly. You could lose it.
Yeah, you could lose it. Someone could steal it. I had another client who her son actually stole her website from her because they had a falling out, and then she lost it completely. She had to redo everything, and it's, you know, anything could happen. Let's put it that way.
There you go. There you go.
There's also issues with sometimes web companies, they fold or they go down, and they don't always notify clients, and they may be the ones that have access to your domain name. I still have clients that want me to be the administrator on their domain. I would prefer not to be, but they're like, I want to be hands off. And I'm like, Okay, but if I ever closed down Misfit, which I never
Yeah.
plan to do, it's my responsibility to then give them that access. They can send it to someone else. Some companies don't do that. So
Yes, very good. We should have access to our server and our domain. Great. What's number 3?
all right, number 3 is to know whether anything on your website needs to be upgraded. WordPress has a very cool system where a lot of this stuff's done automatically, but there are certain things like security protocols that have been updated and plugins. If you're not updating those regularly, you kind of open yourselves up to malware, hacks, malicious code being inserted into your databases. So it's really important. If you have to have a retainer of a web company to help do this, they may charge like a $20 a month fee. It's definitely worth it to do that. Or you can do it yourself because a lot of web hosts have an automatic backup system set up. So if you accidentally break it, which some of the latest WordPress upgrade does break a lot of sites, I've noticed, but you can just revert the backup. But it should be something that you know how to do. Is if you have nobody else that can do it, it's your responsibility to do it for your business.
Exactly. And, and if we don't, I mean, we update our computers, we update our cell phones when there's something, because it's because there's some kind of potential vulnerability there. And we definitely don't want our biggest business asset to have a vulnerability. If you're a brick and mortar store, you lock the doors at night, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Same kind of thing to protect yourself. That's great. Always do your updates. Yes. Very good one. Great, Crystal. These are good.
This one's kind of similar to that. It's making sure that your software is up to date to the latest version. Like you obviously want to make sure that your security stuff is up to date, but there may be other items like your website company right now. A lot of the old web hosts have what's called PHP version 5.5, or we're up to 7.2. So you got to make sure, even talking to your hosting company, making sure that they have you on the latest version, the most secure version of PHP, things like that. It's not stuff that you have to know, but your website company, the company that either built your website or maybe the hosting company, should be on top of your updates for your server where your website is held. So that's kind of your responsibility, to kind of keep up with that and make sure that they're doing their job.
Yeah, excellent. Good. And that has to do with databases, correct?
Yeah, databases. It could also be like your server, the bandwidth is just so ragged down or something like that. You just want to make sure that you have the latest on the server to make sure that your website's running at it's as optimized as possible, essentially.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Next on my list is to know what your responsibilities are as a business owner, as opposed to what you think your web designer or host is responsible for. Now, this should be communicated by your web person, your web developer, but there's a lot of times where they don't communicate that. So it's kind of on us to know, what are they expecting us to know as a business owner, and what is it their responsibility to take care of. So your host is responsible for only 2 things. They're to make sure that your website is online and to make sure your website doesn't go offline. Those are the only 2 things that your host is responsible for. Now, I've had clients, because we do hosting in-house, that they want like a little update here, or they want to do a backup or something, or they need to have a backup for something, but they expect as a web host that it's my responsibility to do it, and it's not. Like GoDaddy is not going to go in and make a phone number update on my website. That's not what they're there for. They're just there to host it. So being clear and concise with the person that is hosting your website and with the person that is working on your website, what their responsibilities are versus yours. That way you're not, hit with surprise fees or something like that.
Definitely. That's a good one too. Very good.
So next on my list would be to know what sort of traffic you're receiving and how to utilize that for leads and marketing. This is very important for business owners. You and I were having a conversation before about Google Analytics, and a lot of people, they don't know how to access analytics. They don't know whether it's even installed. I use another one called Clicky Analytics, which you install on your site, and it provides a couple additional things that Google doesn't provide, like IP address tracking and things like that. But how many websites or how many visitors does your website get per month? Do you know that as a business owner? Or do you know which page has the most visits per month? Do you know that as a business owner? You can use that data to kind of figure out how to remarket the website, change the structure, update the content. Where is most of your traffic coming from? Is it coming from Facebook? So maybe you should put more money in Facebook if that's where you're doing the best at for your ads. Or is it coming from Google? So maybe you should look at doing some Google ads or something like that. But it's really important for business owners to know the type of traffic they're receiving. So that's something that I think every business owner should take responsibility for as well.
And data is important. It helps us to not use our own, thoughts and emotion. People say, oh, I think I should run a Facebook ad on this, or maybe I should do a Google ad, or should I do this or that? And instead, just pull that right out of the equation. Instead, let the numbers tell you,
Exactly. Your users will tell you what they want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. That's a great one. We should totally know our data.
Yeah. So next is knowing the relationship between social media and your website.
That's good.
This is important because there's been a lot of times where I've seen people boosting posts on social media that is actually a link to somebody else's website. They think the article's cool, and it might be a great article. It might be in the same industry. It might have a ton of information, but if you're boosting a post for somebody else, that's free advertising for them, and you're getting nothing out of it. But I've seen people do that. And I try to encourage, people love social media. I'm on social media every day, all day long, and they love it so much that they're being bombarded from all angles with social media. So
a lot of noise.
Exactly. Companies that are constantly in people's faces just so they can post something on Facebook, they may look active, but they're not doing themselves any favors with that. You basically want to prevent or propose 3 types of posts, in my opinion. I call this the Misfit 3 E's. You want to post things that are engaging, you want to post things that are entertaining, or you want to post things that are educational. Those are the 3 types of posts that I would recommend a business focus on for social media, and kind of follow an 80-20 rule where you do 80% is that type of stuff, and then 20% is where you actually do the selling. But Pepsi may have millions of followers on Facebook, but if I follow them, I don't want to hear them talk about how great their product is. I want incentive and value. Make me take a quiz or something, or enter me in a contest to win a free case of Pepsi or something, but do something of value. If all you do is talk about yourself, nobody's going to follow that. You know what I mean?
That's good. Very, very good advice. And we've all seen it done the wrong way, haven't we?
Yes, very much so.
Good.
So next on my list is to know how search engine optimization works and whether you're actually optimized for it. Now, SEO is a very extensive concept. Even people that do SEO for a living like me, we're never, ever 100% in the know because Google's constantly changing. Every day, things are changing on Google.
If they told you their algorithm, right, we would all be.
So we're constantly testing and trying things out. And then we see stuff has broken and we're like, oh, what do they do now? So having a website doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a high ranking in search engines. But actually, let me reword that. So having a website doesn't mean you're going to be found online. It just means that you have the capability of being found online now. So what I try to explain to people is people think they have a website, they should automatically be optimized and Google's going to find them. And that's just not the case. So having a website is the very first step. That is very important, but that's not the only thing that you have to do. You have to do some sort of search engine optimization. You have to really take a critical eye to your content. There's such thing as on-site optimization, making sure the code on your website works well. There's off-site optimization, making sure you're listed in directories, and just understanding the basic concepts behind on-page, off-page, and then creating content. I think it's important for a business, and it's good for a business owner to know that because then they know, well, now I know how to get my business out there even further. So it's important for business. So what I try to emphasize is that you can have the prettiest business card in the world, but what good is it if you're not passing it around? The same can be said for a brick and mortar store in the middle of nowhere with no signs. So if you have a website with no SEO, you're not going to get seen anywhere. So you need to at least know the basics of it.
Exactly. And even if we're just brand new starting a website, if you have that analytics installed, you'll be able to see when you update and add new SEO techniques, you'll see how it's affecting and things get better over time because of it.
I think that was number 9, right? Are we at number 10 already?
I don't know. I think 9 or 10.
Yeah, I think so. So the last and most important probably is to know whether you can make updates to your website. Okay. If you have a site built in WordPress, you need to have the login for that. And you need to know how to make the basic edits to your website. Now, one of the things that we provide as a company is we provide not only a video walkthrough that shows them how to make every possible edit that they should be able to make. Like, I'm not going to explain to them how to change like font CSS in the cascading style sheets or something like that. But as far as the up-to-date day-to-day information, they should know how to make those updates. They should be able to change the phone number on their website. They should know how to make a new blog post. They should know how to update their bio.
Add a new picture.
Add a new picture with the rainbow hair or something like that. But there are a lot of people that they don't know how to get in. It's the same as with the domain or with the hosting. They don't know how to get into their website. They don't know even that they can log in. Like WordPress, you have a backend you can log into. Not everybody is like that. Wix, you can do that. Some people still have static HTML websites that they can't log into, which if you're at that point, you need to upgrade anyway. But
it's time, yes.
Yeah.
It's a dinosaur.
Exactly.
But you learned.
Yeah, and you may hire somebody to start doing these updates for you. So you need to then explain it to them how to log into the website, change the phone number, add new blog articles, update the staff profiles. So it's important for business owners to know how to do that and not just rely on somebody else to do that for them.
Yeah, those are some amazing tips. And I wonder if people are like going down the list, I'm sitting here, I've been taking notes on what you said too, because I'm like, I forgot some of these things. I haven't done them lately. It's exactly the first thing you said, Crystal, was we're so focused on our business, working in our business that we don't do these things. And it's so critical that we actually take a moment to do that. None of these things really takes that much time.
Yeah, they really don't. And there's the beauty of the internet is there's so many people out there that are willing to do free tutorials. YouTube, you can find out how to log into WordPress. If you contact your host, they're willing to give you the login to your host or change the login and maybe ask them a couple of questions while you're talking to them. I mean, there's people out there willing to help. You just have to take the time to do it and then document it. Like if I was going to do it, number 11 is to document all of these things in an easy to read format that you will find later on and that you can pass on to someone else if you pass these tasks on to them.
Yeah, you hire a VA or something like that, and you'll be able to say, oh, I need you to go change out a picture. Here's the login. Here's the access so that they can get into the site for you. Well, those are wonderful. And I know our folks here, they're new, so this is such great information for them. Or if you're starting another website, a second one, very valuable information. And I think this applies to you. We have people that are wanting to become influencers, or you're opening an e-commerce store, or even an Etsy store, things like that. All these things apply, that you need to know how to do the SEO and how to access all of these things, and with your domains and your hosts. I want to go ahead and open this up to questions. If you have questions for Crystal about your website, about any of the things that she just discussed here, post them on YouTube or in the Facebook group here. Post a comment. We'll be able to see that live right now here online. I see we have folks that are watching, so feel free to do that. I want to help support you, and I know Crystal's here. She's opened up here to share, so go ahead and ask her whatever you like with it. I love what you said about documenting too, Crystal. I actually have a file, like a Word file in my computer that has all of these things in it. Where do I get my admin information from? Or what's that other one? The API stuff, I don't know what that code is. That's 51 numbers long. I copy and paste it into a document. And whenever I need it, then I'll get it, because I don't know where in the heck I need to go find that again at.
And it's also important, like, having the files on your computer is great, but then what happens if your computer crashes is having some sort of what's considered like a tertiary backup system. For me, I've used systems like Carbonite. Right now, my business is integrated with G Suite, which is Google's version of having like your entire computer network on the cloud. So having a backup somewhere offsite off your computer, or even one that's automated like Carbonite, I think would be beneficial as well.
Yeah, that's excellent advice too. I love that. In a pinch, I would like email it to myself, but that still is not very secure if someone accesses your email. But in a pinch, I've done that.
Yeah. And it's a good idea for backups anyway. I think something must have happened to me in like the late 90s or early 2000s where I lost like my whole computer, and I've been obsessed. I think I have a backups of my backups, and then I have an external hard drive. So I probably have 5 different backups going at any one time.
It only takes that one time. I once lost a couple of years of stuff, and it only takes once, and then you're very conscientious of that for the future.
Yeah. And right now, with everything going on with COVID, I think it's important for people to, everybody's getting more comfortable with telecommuting and they're getting more comfortable with cloud computing and things like that. So understanding how those work is probably really important for businesses now too. I use Google, and I'm sure you probably use some cloud services as well. And finding a way to get all of your team on the same page, whether you're using Slack or G Suite or Asana or something like that, I think is probably really important for businesses right now too.
Oh, those are great recommendations. Excellent advice. We have a question from a YouTube watcher that says, what are your thoughts, Crystal, and recommendations on WYSIWYG editors? In other words, what you see is what you get, the WYSIWYG editors.
WYSIWYG. Yeah. My husband, I said that word to him the other day, and he's like, what's a WYSIWYG? I'm like, you've been married to me for 5 years, and you haven't heard WYSIWYG yet. But yeah, what you see is what you get. It's kind of like if you were to open up a Word document and type things, and you have the bold and the headers and things, it automatically formats that stuff. There are computer setups and website programs and content management systems that allow you to do that for your website. The problem is you can't really install one on a static website. You have to have it as part of a system already. So it could be something as simple as Wix. They have their own WYSIWYG editors. WordPress has a great WYSIWYG editor. I actually prefer WordPress over everything else because I've been using it so long. Yes, it's so easily customizable. So if you were to install one on a static website, you probably would have to still integrate some form of content management system. Yeah. The benefit about WordPress, though, is you can do WordPress.com, which is where your website's hosted for free on WordPress servers, or go to WordPress.org, download the program, and find a host where it can be installed. And then either way, you have full capabilities to make updates with a WYSIWYG editor, and they're both free. So you can't beat that.
Exactly. Very, very good. Thank you so much. Great. All right. So tell our folks here, Crystal, that are, maybe they're new and they're maybe afraid, to step out and do the website thing. What is this something someone can do themselves, or, how do I vet somebody to be like, if I want somebody to do this, I don't want them to disappear. How do I, give us some assurances.
Well, any web developer or even freelancer worth their salt really should have some form of an agreement of understanding that this is what they're willing to provide for you, and they're willing to give you all of the logins like we talked about here, because there are some that don't give them to you, and then they kind of hold them hostage. Yeah. So, and there are services out there too. I don't know if I want to call them out specifically on your show or not, but there is a service out there that I've seen people sign up for. They build you the website, they create this whole marketing plan, they buy the domain for you, they get everything set up. They even do all the updates for you for like a fee of, I want to say it's like $400 a month, which to me is expensive. You should never pay that much for a website. So I had a client that did that, and then they wanted to do a new website, and the company said, well, we own the domain name, so if you want to buy it from us for $3,000, you can do that. And I'm like, well, let's just get a different one at that point.
Hijacking your business. Shame on them for that.
Wow. They pay, like, you pay that $400 a month for them to hold all of your stuff hostage. So I wouldn't use one of those services. I wouldn't use one of the big companies that they're trying to sell you a website. Make sure you understand that you own everything in this agreement with them. But yes, you can do it for very little money. It may not be as well designed. It may not have all the functionality that you want, which is why you would hire someone like me. Like if you want a membership site, we can do that. But it's very easy, especially if you just go to WordPress.com. It doesn't hurt to just create an account, experiment with it, see how much you like it. And, you're not going to break anything. But yeah, it's very easy to set up for yourself. It's just not going to be as professional as a company doing it for you.
Yeah, and that's a great idea, just to, dip your toe in the water with it, so to speak. And we had Dr. Satya was on a couple weeks ago, and she talked about how she made her very own website using Wix and went right through it. And she did a beautiful job doing it herself. So, and people in the medical field, that's her job, but she's not technical, and she was still able to do it. And you could do that with WordPress.com as well. And I like to tell people to, get out there, be on the internet and make some money. And then when you make some money, then invest it back in your business, with somebody who can make you a fabulous website or some amazing themes or additional training so you can learn how to do more with it.
And what I'm learning, or we're kind of seeing a trend nowadays where people are, I mean, websites are always going to be, in my opinion, especially if I'm on the phone and I'm trying to find a restaurant, I'm immediately going to go to Google and they're going to have a pin on their map to show the local restaurant. And that's where I'm going to go. If I'm on my mobile phone and I'm searching for a service, I'm going to do the same thing. And I'll look at the Google Maps, but I'm also going to look at their reviews. I'm going to look at their website, see what services they provide. So I think websites are always going to be around, but I'm noticing a trend where we're kind of migrating away from websites and putting more focus on social media.
Yes.
People are searching more on social media for companies these days than they are websites, is what it seems like. Like restaurants, I know some restaurants in Gettysburg don't even have a website. They just have their menu on Facebook. So I know exactly, well, I'm just going to go to Facebook and their reviews are there and their menus there. And they didn't need a website. So it depends on if you have the local clout for something like that. If you're brand new, obviously you want to go with a website and everything possible, but it's not always necessary to have one.
Well, as you mentioned that, it made me think about mobile. How about the mobile version of my website? How important is that?
That is very important for your search engine optimization because Google has transitioned, I want to say it was a year or two ago, they transitioned to where their search engines look at your mobile version first and rank you based off of that instead of your desktop. So if you don't have a mobile friendly website, then you're going to rank less than someone who does. So it's very important.
I found it interesting when I reactivated my Google Analytics recently that I could see on there how many of the visitors to my website were visiting using a laptop or whatever, or a mobile device. Were they doing it from a PC or, and so on. And so to know that percentage is telling me, oh, I need to update make sure my mobile is always friendly because I do have a number of people that are coming on with a mobile device.
And honestly, I would say like 40, it's like almost half of users use their mobile devices as their first point of contact. If I'm searching for something, it's usually my mobile first. If I'm sitting at the couch at home, if I'm in the truck with my husband, if we're out at a restaurant, I've got my phone with me first. And that's what people are doing. It's rare that people are just sitting at a computer anymore unless they're at work. And they're not usually searching and they're not supposed to be shopping while they're at work. I'm sure some of them still are.
Of course they are. Yes, they are.
Now, if someone has an online business like me and they're online, like you and I are probably online constantly, I could see desktop, but mobile is honestly dominating the market. So the more people put focus on mobile for their website, more that they are engaged on social media where people are on their phones all the time, that's where they're going to get the most traffic.
Well, excellent. Thank you for that great advice, Crystal. I want to invite you to post questions. We'll follow up after the show even. So feel free to do that. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. And please subscribe to this channel and click the little bell icon because then you'll get notified when new videos come out.
I subscribed.
Yes, it's subscribe. Subscribe, please do. And then on Facebook, if you're watching us from Facebook, please like this video, give us a thumbs up or a heart, and then tag somebody who might be interested in this or share this video with them too. Anything do you want to wrap us up with, Crystal?
Just that I know that technology in general is intimidating for business owners. And I understand, especially the older generation of business owners, it's going to be intimidating, but there's always resources and people out there willing to help you. There's people that are willing to sit down with you on a Zoom session and walk you through stuff. Actually, I serve on the board for a local networking group, and a lot of the other business owner or the board members are older people and they don't know how to even find files on their computer. So I think I'm going to develop some like webinars that are free where I just walk some of the older people through how to just use their computer. But the thing I want to encourage is, talk to people that know how to do this kind of stuff, look at YouTube, try tutorials, reach out to people, but make sure that you are at least attempting to get comfortable with technology because it is important. And if you own a business, it is really important for your business to thrive online as well as offline. And that requires that you take some time to get to know it.
Definitely. And thank you for sharing those 10 things we really need to know in our business. Go back and watch them, take notes. I wrote them all down too. I was taking notes here. Let's say somebody wants to pass the baton, Crystal, and they would like to work with your agency. How can they get a hold of you?
We are pretty much everywhere in existence. Our website's probably the easiest, misfitinteractive.com. We're active on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I have a Snapchat. I don't use that one as much. I just use that for the filters. But pretty much anywhere. And it's constantly evolving. Like social media is constantly, there's always new platforms coming out. So if there's a new platform coming out, I'm usually talking about it and trying to inform people about it. And then I'm playing with it myself just to test it out. So really anywhere you can find us.
So visit her on her website. I'm going to go ahead and put that website here shortly in the notes so people can just click below and see that in the description of this video. So thank you so much for joining us here today, Crystal. I'm so happy that you joined us and shared those 10 important things. It was very eye-opening. I know it's going to help a lot of people now and also who come back to watch this as a replay. So thank you so much, Crystal. So happy that you're here. And thank you, everyone. Go out there, make some money, and go do good in the world with it. Thank you.
Have fun on the internet.